On today's episode, carbon steel, cast iron, stainless steel, nonstick. What does that all mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? I'll get into that real quick. Let's go ahead and start this episode. What's up, guys? Welcome to Saucepot. Today we're doing a Miss Frizzle impersonation, and we're going to be taking all of you guys on a magical school bus ride for the ins and outs of these culinary cooking giants. It's going to be carbon steel, cast iron, stainless steel, nonstick. We don't like nonstick around here. The Teflon Don will not be approaching me anytime soon. If he does, I'm going to take out my CCW and shoot. I'm just joking. All right. But we're going to get into the history, and we'll start off with a little thing called cast iron. We got to go all the way back to the 6th century BCE China, where people were making molds of ironwork, doing whatever they were doing back then. I don't know. I wasn't there. But someone was smart enough to find a mold or make a mold of these beauties. I hit the mic. Hopefully it wasn't too loud. But this has been going on for generations, centuries of just people putting real hot metal into molds, keeping it, cooling it down. I mean, there's Lodge, there's Wagner, there's a bunch of different companies that make these pans. Let's fast forward a little bit. We're going to take a little trip, all the way to 500 AD, where someone was making swords with steel, and they were using coal while they were making the steel, introducing and making a new metal called carbon steel. This one's pressed out, so they fold the metal and then they press it when it's super, super hot, and that's when they get pans like these. Very common to see everywhere. As you can see that there's kind of a difference and a contrast between these two pans. This one's going to be heavier and it's going to retain heat perfect. You're going to be able to just do whatever you want in this. Here, the light workhorse of everything that you could possibly want in a cast iron, but able to move around. I mean, the weight difference is dramatic. And now we'll talk about something that I don't currently have, and that's stainless steel. We'll go all the way back to 1913. In 1913, we're here. His name was Harry Barley. He invented stainless steel, but a couple years later, it took a small company, you guys might know them, Do Bayer. They made the first stainless steel pan. And now you kind of have a rough estimate of like the time phrases, the time segments of when these pans were invented. This is Papa. This is the son, or whatever, and stainless steel, which I don't have. I apologize. He's the newest of the bunch. We'll get into all of them real quick. We are kind of on a hot button conversation right now because there's a real big debate on what pan you should actually use. I prefer steel, either carbon or cast. And this is a beautiful mixture. This is a carbon steel pan, but it doesn't necessarily have all the finishing. It's just a raw carbon steel. People think that stainless steel is superior in a bunch of different ways, but I'm telling you, in high level restaurants all around the world, they're using high quality stainless steel, carbon steel, cast iron. They're using it all. It just depends on what you prefer. And I prefer cast iron and carbon steel. There's centuries of people using cast iron in their cooking. Here's some photos of a cowboy that's using it right on his little camp, making his biscuits and gravy or whatever they ate back then. Probably just like beans, like 4 beans. and then they had to sleep under the stars. I miss those days. Wish I can go back to those days. But I mean, the sear is perfect on almost all of these pans that I own. I own about three of these Lodge carbon steel. Uh, these are a French company. I'll put I'll put it on the screen right here. I can't really remember the name. Not perfect about it, but the sears on these are perfect. This is a workhorse in the oven. I mean, from baking to searing to delicately cooking fish, anything that you guys could possibly want. This is it. This is the Swiss Army knife. This, you don't really want acidic stuff into it. But speaking about acidic stuff and why you shouldn't have it in there, let's get into seasoning the pans. You might have heard the term seasoning, and some people out there will know what that means, some people don't. Well, if you take a microscope with these pans, with the cast iron, with the stainless steel, if you go down, more particularly in carbon steel, if you go down on a molecular level, hopefully I said that perfect, it kind of looks like Swiss cheese. Same with stainless steel, but more prevalent in the cast iron and the carbon steel. When you need to season this, aka using some kind of fat, a lot of people like canola oil and avocado oil, um, anything with a high smoke point, I prefer to season my pans with beef tallow or pork tallow. But what you're doing is you're getting this pan hot enough to where the oil will go ahead and move around freely on the pan, and you're gonna wipe that down and bake it. There's tons and tons of videos out there on the perfect way to season your pans. I'm not going to go over that today. Find one that you prefer. If this video uh, does very well and people are asking how do I season my pans, I'll go over that with you guys, or maybe I'll make a short little video on it. But essentially what you're doing is you're building that compound of the small little holes in the metal, and you're filling that with fat, and you're making it to where the point where there's a barrier on it from rust, from sticking. uh, a very big thing with all of these pans is you're going to need some sort of fat when you're cooking anything to make it really non-stick. There's not really a non-stick out there. And that's going to be a segue into our next bit. The Leidenfrost effect is when water is hitting a pan that is hotter than its boiling point, around 360 to 380. That's kind of the perfect temperature. Uh, with that, and what that means is that any water molecules that are hitting the pan are pretty much turning to vapor and creating a barrier on these. Um, Stainless steel is notorious for this. That's why a bunch of people have a hard time with making stuff not stick, because they don't get their pans hot enough. Kind of the same point with this, but you kind of have the barrier of the seasoning that we talked about previously. Um, I prefer to always let my pans warm up first. You can either do it in the oven at a very low temperature, or just on the stove top watching and making sure that it is hot enough, and then putting fat into it to where you're not really just having a cold pan. The Leidenfrost effect really comes in hand when you're putting your fat in here, getting it hot after the pan is hot. And a lot of food, any food that you can kind of think about, has water in it. And what that does is make sure that that water doesn't cinch down onto the pan and causing your sticking. Um, Without stainless steel on hand, I couldn't really do anything. But here's a video of me flipping some eggs. Yes, I like my eggs crispy. Sue me. So with that, you can see it's non-stick. It's not sticking. But there really isn't anything out there that's non-stick except for like Teflon. And there are ceramic pans out there. I don't prefer them because, again, you can chip those, you can ruin those very easily. But let's get into why people buy non-stick pans. So Teflon. I don't know what to do with this pan. I don't want to throw it away because environmental reasons. Um, Teflon is pretty much a brand of PTFEs. Big all word, won't get into it. It'll be on the screen. But essentially, that's carbon and fluoride atoms being mixed together, making a compound that is non-stick. So why I am so against them, as you can see in this pan, it flakes off. And a lot of people are like, oh, non-stick Teflon, it's fine. It's whatever. I'm not seasoning my food with it. But once you chop, scrape, do anything to manipulate the food in the pan, it will start to scrape. And honestly, it's just like going to be in your food. And it's horrible. It's a forever chemical. It's something that will never leave your body because your body can't break this stuff down. And it's really toxic at a very high amount, but still, you don't want to be eating pretty much chemicals. Another thing that sucks about these pans, they can't hold up the heat. You can hear that. A lot of nonstick pans can't, but it all depends on your stovetop and how you treat them. I treated this pan really well. I've had it for a very long time. You can see the Teflon on the back is flaking off. Um, I might melt this down into a cannonball and do some other stuff with it, but Teflon is the way no one should go. And if you have it, no shame on you. Again, get a pan. A lot of these pans have lifetime warranties, and that's because something can go wrong with them. Stainless steel, carbon steel, stain or cast iron, all of those pans will be perfect in 10, 15, 20 years as we've seen them stand out to the test of time. You just have to take care of them and they'll take care of you. And you really shouldn't just stay away from these. But let's get into the topic of why I choose carbon steel and cast iron. Real quick, be right back. So we'll get into why I love these pans, cleaning them, the pros and cons about them, and the pros and cons of stainless steel. I've used them before in the past. I know plenty of people that use them. They love them. Some people hate them. But why I love these so much is they're pretty much indestructible. Like high heat, throw them in an oven, do whatever you need to do with them. They're going to be there. They're going to be resilient. Um, Water is the enemy of these. It is raw steel at the end of the day. But using a fat to coat them is a protection on it. When you get them wet, dry them off, put them over some heat, really dry them off. And there's another layer of fat of whatever kind that you guys want on here. It's going to be perfect. And the best part to me, in my opinion, is if you guys do nuke this in some way, like eggs, for instance. A lot of people seem to tend to have sticky pans when it comes to eggs. A little side note, little side quest right here. Whenever you're using any pan and any fat to cook eggs, oil isn't the best. Fat like butter and other things like that will work the best. Any kind of butter that you guys use, there's some margarine and stuff out there. Maybe don't use that. Do raw butter. Do like the perfect like 2 ingredient butter, whatever. We won't get into that. But what butter does is essentially it has proteins inside of it that love water. Eggs are 70% water. So if you use oil, pretty much what happens is the egg pushes away the oil because water and oil does not mix. So it'll get to the pan, it'll stick. Use butter, it won't. All right, side quest complete. You guys leveled up, whatever. But um, if you nuke this pan, it's super easy to clean. Like water and soap. There's a big debate on you can't use soap. You can use soap. It will not ruin your pan. It won't ruin your seasoning. I mean, if you're going at it for fucking 45 minutes, you might ruin some parts of your seasoning. But really, with soap, it just takes a lot of water to break down that soap that goes down your sink. really not good for the environment. But you can use a scrub daddy. Um, you can use chainmail. They sell that for all these kind of pans. You can use those like steel bristle brushes on this, and you won't really do anything about it. Like, or you won't do anything bad to it, I should say. And I mean, even if you do ruin your seasoning, you're back in it. I know that stainless steel is a pain in the ass to clean if something sticks to it. But the one benefit is most of those pans you can throw in the dishwasher. Great, perfect. But other pans you can't because they're not rolled edges and they expose the stamped layer of copper, I'm pretty sure, is in between them. But that's why I love these pans, is because they're literally indestructible. Like, any kind of torture that you give them in your kitchen, in your home, in a restaurant, they will be back ready to go. And the best part is the more you cook with these pans, the more the seasoning gets built up and the more nonstick they become. So it's kind of a win-win at that point. There is kind of an issue of skill in between it. Actually getting a good season on it could be challenging, but once you get it, it's perfect. And I don't know. I personally think that something that you need to focus on a little bit more and have kind of a more challenge with, I prefer. I won't say that I won't ever use stainless steel again. These are all culinary cookware giants, but these are kind of the main reasons why I prefer carbon steel and cast irons. Here's some more clips you've seen in the video, in my steak video. Perfect sear. I mean, I really can't go wrong with these pans. And I guess the point of this video, all this is stay away from forever chemicals and buy something that will be with you down the road. You don't want to buy something that'll go bad every 4 years. You want to buy something that you can take care of and use perfectly every single day. And I mean, cast iron and carbon steel are kind of your buddies in that aspect of it. I mean, no acidic stuff in this, but carbon steel is my best friend. Cast iron is my best friend. I make Dutch babies in mine. I love eating Dutch babies. I love eating babies in general. But at the end of the day, guys, go with whatever your heart desires. Go with something that will last you a lifetime that you can hand down to your kids. I mean, people still go and they still try and find all these old cast irons that are from generations down. People go hunting for them.
So this is Cast Iron Kyle. My whole goal is to keep the golden era of cookware alive by making sure people know how to use them and take care of them.
Nailed it!
No.
One take Kyle, dude.
All right, run it. Let's see, let's see if I can remember.
They stick around. They beat in the test of time. So at the end of the day, I probably said that 16 times. Go with your heart. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the delayed holidays. Everything's kind of been going crazy, buck wild. Haven't been feeling the best. We're back at it. We'll try to get back on the normal schedule. I love you so much. Like and subscribe. Peace.